Today, BYA now, because you asked. Chris out of Milwaukee writes, if you take out every earmark in the current budget proposal, how much money would we save? Boy, wouldn't we like to know. The watchdog is with us today. Steve Ellis, Vice President for Taxpayers of Common Sense. Sorry, of Taxpayers for Common Sense. How are you, Steve? Good morning.
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Bill.
Democratic leadership estimates the total earmark value at $3.8 million. Check that, $3.8 billion. You've got a number that's 3 times that size. How big?
Well, we have a number that's $7.7 billion just in this bill, and then there was $6.6 billion in earmarks also for fiscal year 2009 back in the fall. So it's quite a bit larger.
Larger in terms of numbers, what, 8,570? How do you define an earmark, Steve?
We define it the way Congress defines it. I mean, essentially, they disclose these in the back, and then eventually we're going to have to go through and try to find some of these hidden earmarks we call undisclosed earmarks. But essentially, this is what Congress told us were the earmarks in the bill, and we just counted it up.
You know what struck me about this number? 7.7 billion, 8 billion if in a roundup. That's a lot of money. But that is 2% of the stimulus bill that we spent a couple weeks ago. That now gives you an idea for how much money Washington is pushing through, Steve.
Oh yeah. I mean, believe me, these are busy days for budget watchdogs between the stimulus, the bailout, and the appropriations and the budget that just came out. I mean, we're certainly been going from one fire to the next.
One fire to the next, and here is something most Americans don't know. It is common practice in Congress for the majority party to allow the minority party about 40% of these earmarks. Is that tradition?
Yeah, that's been held up both when the Republicans were in control and when the Democrats are now in control. And it's sort of, you know, to go along, to get along, you go along. And so that way, both parties are part of the problem. It's a bipartisan affliction, this earmarking.
You scratch my back and I scratch yours. You say some of these are necessary, some of these have merit. How do you define that?
Well, it's almost impossible to define, but I mean, these projects, some of them probably would be meritorious and would go through, but we have no idea which ones they are, because it's a political muscle process rather than a project merit process. We need to be deciding how to spend our precious taxpayer dollars.
Well, who's doing that,
through
Steve?
Competitive award and merit-based programs.
Yeah, who's doing that?
Well, I mean, it's Congress is making the decision, and so what you find right now is that if you happen to be in control of the Appropriations Committee, then you're going to be able to get the most money. It's not surprising that Senator Cochran, who's the ranking Republican on the Appropriations Committee, got far more in earmarks than any other member of the chamber.
Thad Cochran, $470 million in earmarks. Roger Wicker, Republican out of Mississippi, $390 million. 6 of the top 10 are Republicans. The list goes down and down and down. Joe Biden's number 50. He's number 60 on the list with $52 million. He's the VP. Rahm Emanuel's on the hook for money for the Chicago Planetarium. He's the chief of staff in the White House. Man, you could throw a dart at just about everyone down there, with the exception of John McCain, who's trying to push this amendment through to snuff this out.
Yeah, just about. I mean, there's a couple. He's joined by a couple other senators, 2 other Republicans, Senator Coburn and Senator DeMint, and 2 Democrats, Senator McCaskill and Senator Feingold. They're really the only people who have said no to earmarks.
I think Evan Bayh's in on that list, too, to make it for 3 Democrats. But, Steve, I tell you, man, thank you for doing the work you do, all right?
Thanks a lot for having me.
Good to have you on. Steve Ellis, he's the most quoted man of the week. Believe me. You got a question you want answered? Compose that email in the form of a question. Just need one line and a question mark. Hemmer at foxnews.com. BYA. 18